Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know if you can hear me. Thumbs up if you can. To Rick Cast. I hope everybody's having a good evening so far. Yes, we the continuation of the background continues. I hope everybody likes it. If you don't, well, I'll probably change it eventually. Who knows? We got a good show for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I am happy to be here on this beautiful 24th of March 2024. And we are ready to go with you guys. So let me know what you guys are thinking as we get ready to participate in tonight's show. Big thing out in the ether right now is Team Trump texting war plans to random reporter. Who is going to take the fall on that? Who is not going to take the fall on that? Well, good news is I can actually hear myself. So, hey, we got one of those things down, right? we can only go up from here. And so Pete Hegseth is probably going to take the fall on this text chain nonsense. We'll get into that in a moment. 23andMe shuts down. So if you decided to send them your information, yeah, that's going to be negative on that one. So good luck getting that back, because not only they're going to file for Chapter 11, then they're going to try and find an owner. Who knows what the next person's going to do with your information, with your DNA? Hey, but at least you were able to find out that you were a quarter, Portuguese or whatever the case may be. Hope it was worth it. Snow White bombs. Nobody was shocked about that. I mean, if you thought it was going to do, I said it wasn't going to be a complete bomb. The opening weekend's not great, but it may have legs. It may have legs, so we'll see how that goes in that regard as we continue to push forward. And then finally, RFK Jr. wants to get rid of drug ads on TV. You got to let me know if you agree with that or not. I think it's a good idea. Um, Cable news is not going to like that, but I don't really care what cable news thinks, and I don't think you do either. Anyway, let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. If you like what I'm doing, do me a favor. Hit that like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell to do all the fun things to continue this show. Yeah, possibly getting better, moving on, having a decent background. That's all going to happen if we can get the likes and the subscribes and the numbers and the retweets and all those kinds of things moving. So let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. First story of the night. All right. Nope. We're going to get to that in a second. But before I wanted to get to that, this story came out earlier in the day. You know how these things go. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's just a report. There's nothing in stone. Right? No, good thing you didn't. They can get, it depends on the company you sent it to. Some companies, it was in China. Some other companies were wherever, but you were voluntarily giving up your DNA to a corporation. And that's just not bueno. And I think people got swept up in the, oh, well, I can find out I'm related to Queen Isabella, which doesn't do anything for you. I mean, my grandmother did one of those things. And I found out I'm fifth cousins of Oliver Winchester and sixth cousins from Daniel Wesson. I ain't getting any ammo, or I'm not getting a Winchester rifle anytime soon. So it didn't really help me out. But hey, some people want to do that kind of stuff, and if you do, that's great. I hope it makes you happy in that regard. But outside of that, we're looking at yeah, it is a background check. It's not a real background check. It is a background check because they have your information. And other countries would pay lots of money to have hundreds of millions of information on Americans, genetic information, all kinds of things. But speaking of drugs and all those other kinds of things, looks like Robert Kennedy plans on banning pharmaceutical ads on television, which this graph right here would tell you is not a great thing, simply because if you look at the amount of money that is spent on pharmaceutical ads in major networks, it's CBS, ABC, NBC. Look how much money is spent on these. These are in the millions, Not $319, $319 million, $363 million. I mean, the joke is everything's sponsored by pharma or Pfizer or whatever the case may be. Sporting events are not going to be happy about this either, simply because of that. So it's not a great look for them. I'm not a big fan of Patrick Bet David, but this is a pretty interesting video clip. So take a listen.
So you know who the third one is that's keeping cable in business?
Pharma.
Pharma. Do you know what percentage of every dollar on sponsorship and ads cable TV gets from pharma? What percentage is from pharma? Percentage for every dollar, percentage. So think about movie commercials, car commercials, clothing commercials, all these different companies that do commercials. So many industries
Something
that do
ridiculous like 70%.
It's 75%. You're right. 75%. So check this out. Watch how crazy this is. Watch how crazy this is. Okay.
How is that even legal to do that?
Can you, while I'm doing this, just on your phone, Google what percentage of pharma cable advertisement? It's going to come up saying 75%. Now watch this. 75%, right? Stay with me here. So now we have to answer the question, is it moral to advertise getting more people taking drugs? Okay. What's wrong with that? It's their choice. They got to do it. No problem. So then why is it out of nearly 200 countries in the world, only 2 of them allow pharmaceutical companies to advertise on TV, and the other 198 don't? Who are the 2 countries? U.S. and New Zealand. Why? Wait. I don't know. You mean to tell me Germany doesn't allow? Nope. You mean to tell me China or Japan? Nope. Not even Venezuela? No.
Damn, that's
Canada?
crazy.
No. Only 2 countries. Yes. Why? I don't get it. Because they allow it. 75%.
I mean, well, I get what he's trying to say. I think that's kind of it's a little bit of a straw man argument. Like China is not a capitalist system, so they wouldn't do that kind of stuff. A lot of the other countries in the West, the New World, whatever you want to call them, they don't need to advertise because it's all included in their quote unquote universal healthcare system. And it's really one of those things that is allowed just because you can advertise whatever you want. I don't know if I don't like it. I think all of us don't like the fact that the pharmaceutical industry has such a chokehold on cable news or just news in general, with the advertising dollars and how they can bend and push agendas with those advertising dollars. So we'll see how that is. I mean, this is just a report right now. I don't know how locked in it actually is going to be, but it is something to keep on our radar here on Rickcast. And the idea that he's going to be able to do this is going to be quite shocking if he can, simply because that'll be a major seismic shift in the way things are done. Because where are sporting events? Where is MSNBC and Fox and all these going to be? And I like Steph. I love the fact that it's always, oh well, Murdoch will do it. I'll show you the graph again. Fox was actually the one that took the least amount of money. CBS is the one that would make them want to change their mind, simply because they're the ones who need it the most. Check out that graph again. Here, check this out. Fox is the last one. It's down here. CBS, ABC, and NBC all take more money than Fox. So I get it. The liberal bend is, oh, the Murdochs are bad, and I get it. And that's fine. I think CBS and ABC is bad. But the fact is, when it comes to taking pharmaceutical dollars, Fox is the least. They're still taking way too much. I'll agree with you. They still take way too much money. But in the end, it's not like they're the ones taking almost $400 million in ad sales every year. So it's kind of, I think it's disingenuous. I think we can all agree, right, left, and center, that the pharmaceutical industry needs to be roped in. You're right. That's why they couldn't report on the vaccine injuries, because they were being held to a much different standard. So yeah, that's a good point here on Rickcast. I appreciate you guys being here. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, do all the fun things. Help this show grew. Let's see. Next up, I know Steph will like this one. So this one's for you, Steph. Colorado is having some hijinks with their official portrait of Donnie, and he's not happy about it. From One American News, Trump demands that Colorado Governor Jared Polis remove the distorted portrait of him from the state capitol building. You gotta have a little bit of a sense of humor. Um, you gotta have a sense of humor here, and this is a bad picture. Like, imagine you're the artist. That doesn't even. That's just awful. It looks like a 10th grader drew it. President Donald Trump has demanded that Colorado Governor Jared Polis remove the distorted portrait of him as currently hung in the Colorado State Capitol building. On Sunday, Trump wrote on Truth Social telling Governor Polis to remove the painting, saying nobody likes a bad picture or a painting of themselves. But the one in Colorado in the state capitol building, put up by the governor along with all the other presidents, was purposely distorted to a level that even I perhaps have never seen before. The artist also did President Obama, and he looks wonderful, but the one of mine is truly the worst. Now, of course, the way that federalism works, if they want to put up an official portrait and the portrait doesn't look like him, then yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. And so let's see here. How long has this thing been up? Sarah A. Boardman, the artist of the portrait, said during the unveiling in 2019 that Trump needed to look neutral in the portrait. I don't know if that's looking neutral if he looks like a baby, but my portrait of President Trump has been called thoughtful, non-confrontational, angry, not happy, not tweeting. In 5, 10, 15, 20 years, he'll be another president on the wall who has only historical background and needs to look neutral. I mean, you can say that, ma'am, but the fact is, that's not a great picture. That's just not a good one. Bless your heart if that's what you're thinking. You probably was just notified that it was there. Um, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But it's not very happy with it. So Shelby Wyman, the spokesman for the Colorado governor, said in a statement that the governor was, quote, surprised to learn the president of the United States is an aficionado of our Colorado state capitol and its artwork. Yeah, listen. You look right. It does look like Lindsey Graham and Trump blended together. People are going to do this. Art is subjective. Most of us think it's a terrible photo. Um, Obviously, Colorado is a blue state, and they have a certain disaffection, we could say, for the 47th president of these United States. And I don't know if that's really something that you want to fight over. You could tell them to take it down, but it's not. Here's the problem that you run into. It's not an outright disrespectful portrait. It's just a bad one. It's not it's not painted in a way to have any kind of malice associated with it. It just looks bad. It just looks really bad. That's the problem. And so it's I don't know what to tell you. That's just terrible. And it is Steph, don't do that, because if there was a bad painting of Joe, you guys would freak out about it. I appreciate you, but play down the center. Call it even. Call it even. If there was a bad picture of Obama, you guys would call us racist and bigoted and sexist and all the hateful things. If anything, respect the office and whatever the case may be. So just um we could play the whataboutism game with you, Steph. If it was a bad photo of Obama or Joe, I'm sure you guys, if it was a picture of Joe where he was like, and he didn't know what he was doing, you go, well, why would you do that? But honestly, I will say this: if the state of Colorado wants to keep it, they can keep it. There's nothing Donnie can do about it except get mad. And honestly, don't really waste your time on something silly like this. Yeah, because you're just not gonna win. All right, folks, that's our second story of the night as we're moving through here. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell if you like what we are doing. If you don't like what we're doing, let me know and we can try and change it up for you. I know we're still working on this backdrop and I just got a new camera. Let me know if the camera quality is a little better. It's supposed to be a better camera. I don't know. It may or may not, but you let me know if it is. I know my hat's all messed up. It's been a rough day for me, but that's okay because I'm here with you now. So now my day is better. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our next story. This is the story that everybody's been kind of talking about top to bottom. This is the biggest story, arguably, of the day. And it's from The Atlantic. The Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans by Jeffrey Goldberg. U.S. national security leaders included me in a group chat about upcoming military strikes in Yemen. I didn't think it could be real. Then the bombs started falling. Now, I don't know. You have to let me know if if you're one of these people, if you're this reporter and you get lumped into this text chain and you now all of a sudden have access to this, do you print them? Do you tell them listen, it's it's why don't you take me out of this text chain or one of these things? Because obviously, because this guy's anti-Trump, he ran to the press and he's going, "This is ridiculous. Can you believe this? They texted me their war plans." And now he's a hero. And this is an example of the actual text messaging that he took pictures of. JD Vance and Pete Hegseth. JD Vance, Pete Hegseth, if you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing you about again. Let's just make sure our messaging is tight here. And if there are things we can do up front to minimize risks to Saudi oil facilities, then we should do it. And then Pete Hegseth says some stuff here and there. Now, of course, the Atlantic thinks they're important. They're going to put me behind a paywall, but I've discovered that Gronk is great at summarizing articles, so I don't need it. So in this article, the Trump administration accidentally texted me into war plans. Editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg recounts an extraordinary incident where he was inadvertently included in a Signal group chat with senior Trump administration officials discussing military strikes on the Houthi targets in Yemen. The story begins on March 11th when Goldberg received a connection request on the encrypted messaging app Signal from a user identified as Mark Waltz, presumed to be President Donald Trump's national security advisor. He's probably going to be the guy that gets fired. Initially skeptical, Goldberg suspected it might be a hoax or disinformation attempt, given the administration's rocky relationship. So let me ask you this: if he thought it was, why would he accept it? If he thought it was a hoax or anything, why would he accept the actual text message, or why would he accept the request? Um, Anyway, 2 days later, on March 13th, Goldberg was added to a group chat titled Houthi PC Small Group, which included individuals appearing to be top officials like Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and others. On March 15th, Hegseth texted detailed operational plans for airstrikes on Yemen, including targets, weapons, and timing, predicting the first detonations at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 hours before the public announcement. Goldberg, still doubting the chat's authenticity, waited to confirm the legitimacy, and when the bombings occurred as predicted, he realized the gravity of the situation. Once again, why doesn't he get out? Right? He knows he's not supposed to be there. Well, they made the mistake. Listen, yeah, they made the mistake, but at the same time, you're not supposed to be there. That's not for you, man. Guarantee if it was a different administration, he would have blasted out as soon as possible as to not to interfere. But instead, he knew he could run and be a hero to the left by talking about the the Trump administration and to say, "Ha ha, we got him, and now we have him by the ropes." I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see the fallout for this. And so it's very interesting to see the mess up here. Also, it's interesting to see that that the administration uses Signal. I guess that's a great advertisement for the Signal group and what you could use there. as opposed to anything else. I don't know. But I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below about this, because this is, I think, the first real scandal of the Trump administration. All the other stuff was kind of left, right, and center, and it was really kind of outside stuff, nothing that really mattered. This one, because it's national security, because somebody let him in on these things, of course, he's going to have to explain why, after he received these messages, why he didn't just back out immediately. Like, oh, all right, this is obviously not for me. Of course, he's a reporter. Reporters are the enemy. And if you don't hate the media enough, you have to, because they're terrible people. They really are. They're vultures, and all they're looking to do is get their stories for clicks and repeats. I know they're painted, and they always talk about, oh, well, we are the guardians of freedom and all these other kinds of things, which is just a bunch of BS. Because if this was the other administration, they would have taken the correct steps to remove themselves from this situation in order not to compromise supposed national security. Now, I don't like the fact that we're bombing the Yemenis anyway. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like that idea. I think it's actually not very good. But at the same time, so it is what it is. I don't know. That's a good question. What do you think they would do? I think they would say, listen, I got let in, but well, you know what, Steph? I'll say this. I didn't say leftist journalists. I just said journalists. Journalists, period, are the enemy. They're just not, none of them are very good. So that's an interesting point. I'll let that one stand. But the fact is, this is the first scandal that the that the Trump administration is going to have to negotiate. Somebody is going to have to fall on the sword for this. Somebody is going to have to take the L for this. And it's going to be interesting to see who actually does that. Because the fact of the matter is, somebody has to. It can't be Rubio. It can't be Vance. I don't even think it can be I actually, Magdalene and I were talking, that it might be Hegseth. It might be Hegseth, but I think this guy, where is he? Michael Waltz, Trump's national security advisor. I think he's the easy one to get. He's going to get the slip. I don't think Hegseth is going to as well, because whoever extended the invitation is the one who's going to get fired. And it looks like this guy, Michael Waltz, is the guy that extended the invitation. So if he's not fired within the next 2 days, we'll see what happens. I think he's got to get fired. I think he's got to get fired because he messed up. And that's, his mess up was a threat to national security, which I don't know, bombing the Houthi rebels is national security or not. I don't think it is, but you get it. But yes, we will keep our eye on the fallout from this. But I believe this is the first scandal that the Trump administration is going to have to negotiate. And let's see how they do it. All right, folks, here we are on Rickcast. I hope everybody's having a good evening. Let's move on to our next story here. A little bit of fun. Well, unless you're one of these 23andMe people, it's not that fun. But so let's just read the headline here. 23andMe files for bankruptcy and will try to find a buyer. Ooh, that's not good. I don't think it's good. Do you think it's good? I know it's not good. Take a listen.
DNA testing company 23andMe has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It comes as the California Attorney General is warning users to consider deleting their data. But 23andMe says it doesn't share consumer data with third parties without a customer's consent. Business reporter Alexis Christoforous has more on that story. So 23andMe, Alexis, already faced an uncertain future before California's AG put this warning out there. Now they've filed for bankruptcy. So what's next?
So they're going to be looking for a buyer while they try to emerge from what's called Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This was a company that was worth $6 billion when it went public a few years ago. Now, based on its stock price, it's at about $25 million. It has the genetic information of more than 15 million people. And the company is going to search for a buyer. The website will continue to move along as usual. So users, people who have signed up for this service, shouldn't see any changes right now.
23andMe says its program is opt-in, So how
Right.
does that play a part in all of this? And what do you make of the company's response?
Right. So the company is saying that nothing is changing in terms of the way it manages, stores our personal data. This company was hit with a hack back in 2023. 7 million people had their information compromised, and the company wound up settling, paying these people $30 million. So that hurt its reputation. It had to lay off about 40% of its workforce. So the company is saying that it's still protecting your data, and if you didn't want that data, shared with a third party, if you didn't want that data used in medical research, it's still not being used in that way. If you did, let's say, you can go in there today and change your settings on the app or on the website, but you also have every right to direct the company to delete your genetic data and to actually close out your account altogether and have them destroy whatever genetic sample you gave them.
So what can people do on that front? Is it as simple as just reaching out to the company and saying,
Right.
hey, delete? Do they have a button for that? Or is this one of those you have to write an email and a letter and
No, they made it pretty easy. I actually went through I didn't completely do it. I actually used 23andMe, and so I was looking at how easy is this to do. You can Google it. Just go online and now Google, how can I delete my information on 23andMe if that's what you want to do. It's pretty easy. You log on under settings. You go into your profile, and it's sort of self-explanatory. You have to go all the way down. It's there, and just scroll all the way down, and it says delete data if you want to. They'll send you an email confirming, do you really want to delete your data? And you can say yes, and make sure that you hold on to that too as proof that you did indeed delete your data.
All right, sounds pretty straightforward. Alexis, thank you.
Yeah, she sounded super confident, right? Just Google it. Just Google, it'll find you. Okay. Well, there's what the legacy media says, and then there's what TikTok says.
Heads up, if you've ever given your DNA to 23andMe, you should probably go and delete that right now. This morning, it was announced that 23andMe filed for bankruptcy and that its CEO, Ann Wojcicki, was resigning. 23andMe is, of course, the DNA testing company. They said that this morning, 23andMe shares dropped more than 50% in early trading after the company filed for bankruptcy late Sunday, blah, 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 shareholder value, whatever. Here is what's actually alarming. Quote, 23andMe's global database has grown into a virtually unprecedented repository of human genetic information that can now be sold in bankruptcy proceedings. That's right, the privacy statement of 23andMe says that, quote, if they are involved in a bankruptcy, merger, acquisition, reorganization, or sale of assets, your personal information may be accessed, sold, or transferred as part of that transaction. So what does that mean? Well, it means that the DNA that you've given them could be scooped up by whoever and used in all sorts of crazy ways. Things like maybe cloning you without your permission. Your DNA could be sold to malicious actors who could then use that DNA and leave it at crime scenes that you were never at. Of course, bioweapons is always a possibility. I mean, okay, those are admittedly kind of crazy examples. Maybe they won't happen. But then there are those mundane use cases that probably will happen. One of which is insurance companies using that DNA data to deny you coverage, which is something they definitely love to do. So if you don't want that, here are the instructions on how you can delete your data from 23andMe. Pause to read.
Yeah. Well, you can try doing all that, except for the fact that California Attorney General said all this, and there's been problems. They've actually had problems to do it, and it's not going the way that they had hoped. Not great. And I kind of feel bad for you people, but I don't, because I would not do that. I had relatives who did it, but there's absolutely no way I would blindly send off my DNA just so I could find out that you're like fifth cousins to, I don't know, some random person in history. And people have done 23andMe tests where they've sent in dog DNA, and they're like, oh, this person's related to Henry V. It's like, wow, it's a dog, but it's not a great thing, and it's also just one more reason why people have just become used to oversharing things. They just overshare things, and it doesn't really work out well for you in the end. No, it doesn't. So, yeah, I mean, do I feel bad for you? Yeah, I do. But at the same time, I really don't. I'm sorry. This is Rickcast. I'm just being honest here. It's, you get what you do. And now you have all of this data, all of this DNA data out there, just out there in the ether, even though they're like, oh, don't worry. You can go opting out of it and all these other things. Go ahead and see if you can do it, because I guarantee you it's probably not as easy as the lady who didn't have an idea of how to do it. It's like, go Google it and go hit the thing. Lady, you're a reporter. Your whole friggin' job was to find out how to do this. How can you not? But I guess being a reporter is not as intrepid as it used to be. All right, let's see. Last story of the day. Oh, so sad. So sad. Snow White bombs, breaking the record for the lowest live action remake of all time. We tried to talk about this on Friday until the entire show just kind of fell apart. Which luckily today we have been able to get through most of the show, which I'm pretty happy about. So, thumbs up there. But Snow White finally debuted after 3 years. 3 years of remakes, reshoots, delays, all of these things. It's very anticlimactic, especially since it only made like $43 million, which is terrible for a live action. They were hoping for 50, 53. It came in $10 million under what it was supposed to be. The previous low record holder was Dumbo, which opened at 46 million. And that doesn't count the 29-year-old live action remake of 101 Dalmatians. Nevertheless, that 1996 movie still opened to 33 million, which would be 68 million today. So it's not great, ladies and gentlemen. You can see that Snow White on the Metacritic data has not really done well. 50, that's out of 100, right? The overwhelming dislike is 1.2 out of 100, 803 users. And it's just absolutely tanking, as it should. And so we're seeing, and people are celebrating this. I don't know why. This was one of those things. Yeah, that lead is, well, Rachel Zegler's done. She's going to go back to Broadway. She's going to have a long career on Broadway. They'll love her there because Broadway people are pretentious, and they'll think that she was this superstar who fought against the big bad Trump in the right wing and all these other things. She won't have a problem having a career. So she's not worried. She's already gotten paid for all of this, and she'll do bit parts in films. But outside of that, the problem is that Disney doesn't care right now. They just don't. They just do not care. They could have these things absolutely just continue to bomb and not do well, and it just doesn't matter to them. It just doesn't. They'll continue to try and push this agenda. John Knowlton writes, if you count for inflation, Dumbo opened at 57 million in today's dollars, which tells you how bad Snow White has been received. The news isn't any better for Snow White overseas. Previous projections for this global haul hovered in around an already pathetic $100 million by Monday. That number will sit at around $87 million. No, I mean, the problem with Zegler, she's young. They gave her this role at like 19, 20, because she's 24 now, so she was 20 when she got it. And so she's fine. She's just had this problem of she didn't get any media training, and they kind of just threw her out there, and she buried herself. She dug her own grave. And that's just how it goes. And most of those actors share her sentiment. They're just media trained in a better way to not make this look or to put themselves in these terrible positions. So yeah, I agree with you there. Before promotion, this disaster cost 270 million. At this point, it's doubtful the movie will even gross 270 million. And then you remove 50% of the theater cut. The Disney grooming syndicate is looking at a brutal loss, which everybody doesn't realize are great tax write-offs. when you lose money, you write it off against the company. So it's not like they lose it anyway. Um, and it's not like we won anything. People are celebrating. Oh, it tanked. It tanked. Everybody knew this thing was going to tank. You're not getting anything by anybody by doing that. It's just the natural result of what happened. So it is what it is in that regard. One of the latest excuses for this movie's failure, because the sycophants in entertainment media will never have the moral courage to admit that star Rachel Zegler's smug mouth or the movie's feminist nonsense turned people off. It's the anti-science piece of Disney butt smooching bladder from blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. Here's something that Mary Morgan brought up on PCC that was actually quite interesting. That this film doesn't have the nostalgia that a Little Mermaid or a Lion King or any of these other films that have been, or Aladdin, because it has its place for Disney adults, but kids, the millennial generation didn't watch it in theaters. They only know Snow White from the parks, or if they watched it on the Disney Channel when they were younger. They don't have an attachment to it that they did to the previous ones, like I said, Aladdin or The Lion King or any of these other films that have Beauty and the Beast. Those films had a millennial nostalgia baked into them, which is why they were more anticipated. This one didn't. This one was kind of like, oh well, it's part of the Disney, library. It's part of the Disney library. And then people will argue, well, Cinderella was, and that one did fine. Yeah, but that one was back when the remakes were first starting and people were kind of accepting of it before they just became these churn out, disgusting, just this conveyor belt of crap. The the idea was that, oh well, Cinderella's coming out, maybe that's going to be good. Let's see how they do this. After all of these terrible remakes and Disney Plus and all these other things, it's just worn out. This is kind of the end of it. So it is what it is. Yeah, it's 100 years old. It's just kind of like, oh look, there's Snow White, and watch the cartoon when you're younger. You don't remember seeing it in theaters and the cultural impact it had when it was the first major animated film to come out. And so that's one of these things as well. Um so yeah, and he's gonna pass this off, but I think it's disingenuous of John Knoll to do this. It has nothing to do with the controversy or age. Being Disney years, 88 years old. How does The Little Mermaid open 95 and do a multiple of 3 times near 300? How's it? Well, Dumbo, these live action takes of older vintage Disney musicals and animated movies. Maleficent, Cinderella, 101 Dalmatians, they just opened lower. And of course, he's going to run to Cinderella, which opened to 68 million and went under to 542 million dollars. And here's the thing: the reason why I think that one did well is because it was the first. It was the first live action remake, and it stuck very closely to the original themes. There wasn't any woke nonsense in it. So there was it to compare that one to this one is disingenuous to try and prove your point. So I think people don't shouldn't discount it as much as they actually do. But Hollywood will never repair itself because no one will ever accept the truth about why Snow White bombed, even though everybody knows, one, Disney and Zegler alienated normal people and the movie sucks. Well, those things can be true. Those things can be absolutely true. And we'll see how Snow White does next weekend without any competition. It's probably going to just sink. It's going to absolutely sink. But Disney knew this for a while. They just wanted to get it over with. They just wanted to get this thing out. They're waiting to try and get to Lilo and Stitch, which is going to make $1 billion. And that's going to be the film that they look towards, that they're going to they're going to hang their hat on. Snow White, they knew was DOA. They were hoping for maybe a decent a decent reaction from the crowds, and maybe it'll have some legs, maybe like a Mufasa, which is still doing well in theaters. Problem is, you're about to hit the summer season where there'll at least be more competition for these films. So we'll see if that's actually anything to take into account. All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Rickcast, folks. Yeah, we didn't have a lot tonight. Usually Mondays we do, but we don't. Please do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell to help the show grow. I appreciate everybody hanging out with me. I will talk to you all tomorrow on Rickcast, and until then, y'all be good out there. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.